A young boy named Cyril introduces himself to Lady Sophia. She questions his name as he politely calls her "my lady." Cyril explains that he's an apprentice butler, but his real goal is to stop Sophia from meeting a grim fate. He shares that he was reincarnated into the world of an otome game he once played, called Espressivo of Light and Darkness. Sophia is 6 years old, the daughter of a marquis and engaged to the prince. Cyril remembers his previous life in a highly advanced world where he learned magic. He knows that when Sophia turns 16, the prince will fall for the game's main heroine, which will drive Sophia into darkness. Her jealousy will make her harass the heroine, leading the prince to discover her actions. Ultimately, Sophia and her butler will be executed for her villainy. Cyril knows all this because his sister in his former life made him play this specific game. He reveals that the butler executed with her is himself, and he's determined to prevent this future. He initially thinks it might be easy, but he recognizes the real challenge ahead. Sophia is his favorite character because, under her villainous role, she has a kind heart and a tragic backstory involving mistreatment by maids, which is meant to make players sympathize with her. Cyril resolves to save her, starting by protecting her personality from being twisted and boosting her charm so the prince won't be drawn to the heroine. He knows other obstacles will come later, but his immediate goal is to earn her trust and guide her away from darkness as soon as possible. In the original story, he only becomes her butler at 15, which is too late, so using his game knowledge and natural skills, he earns the position of apprentice butler at just 6. Curious, Sophia asks what a butler does. Cyril explains it's someone who takes care of everything and is always there. She then asks if he'll always be there for her. Cyril kneels and promises that he always will. On her birthday, he reassures her that he will protect her anywhere, anytime. When she shyly asks if he'll celebrate with her, he warmly promises to celebrate her birthday this year and every year to come. Presenting a single perfect rose, he wishes her a happy 6th birthday. Sophia beams with joy, accepts the rose, and thanks him. Cyril feels he has succeeded in earning her trust. Knowing this is just the beginning, Cyril understands his next task is to deal with the maid who constantly torments Sophia, making her isolated and disliked by the mansion staff. One day, a tearful Sophia runs to Cyril, claiming the head maid was mean to her again. He comforts her and gently offers to wipe away her tears. The maid quickly denies it, insisting Sophia simply tripped and labeling her a liar as other maids whisper about Sophia's honesty. The head maid scolds Sophia harshly, leaving the girl shocked as she insists she's telling the truth. Cyril steps in front of Sophia, warning the maid that a servant should never betray their master. The maid dismisses him, saying Sophia is throwing a tantrum. But Cyril points out that the maid is taking out her frustrations on an innocent child. Confidently, the maid scoffs, claiming no one would believe a young boy over a long-serving, trusted maid. Cyril calmly replies that trust isn't the issue. Betraying a master is unforgivable. Suddenly, guards appear and apprehend the shocked maid. Cyril presents an official-looking letter revealing that he and the head butler, Cedric, investigated her and found her guilty of embezzlement. The maid is stunned, but Cyril tells her it's useless to feign ignorance. She inflated the costs of household supplies. Coldly, he informs her she will now spend her life as a criminal slave. She protests it was only a small amount, and Cyril mockingly questions her definition of small, holding up documents as proof. He adds that she also harmed Sophia's reputation by branding her a liar and asks if she still feels trustworthy now that her deceit and theft are exposed. With a serious expression, Cyril declares she betrayed her master's trust at the deepest level. The maid is filled with despair as he announces her time at the mansion is over. Turning to Sophia, he gently reassures her that the mean maid is gone for good. Overwhelmed, Sophia hugs him tightly, thanking him for believing in her. Cyril calmly says it was only natural. From that day, he devoted himself to raising Sophia to be a graceful lady of the Rosenberg family. He taught her everything, from posture, dance, violin, and embroidery, to magic from his past life and self-defense. Over the next 6 years, Sophia absorbed all his teachings without complaint. Now a poised young Sophia asks Cyril to brush her hair. As he prepares her brush, he notices her 12th birthday is approaching. Sophia wonders if her busy parents will have time to celebrate, but reassures herself it's fine. They've sent gifts and messages, and most importantly, she has Cyril by her side. Cyril reflects that the lonely, isolated girl from the game no longer exists and tells Sophia that the entire mansion staff joins him in wishing her a happy birthday. Sophia blushes, admitting that having him celebrate with her is what makes her happiest. Cyril replies warmly that the pleasure is all his. Leaving her room for the night, he feels confident he's kept her from falling into darkness and enhanced her charm for the prince, but he knows one final challenge awaits. The challenge is the first prince's upcoming birthday party, where Sophia is meant to meet the second prince just as he falls for the main heroine. In the original story, the second prince saves the heroine from an aggressive nobleman at the party, and though their identities remain unknown, a connection forms that deepens at the academy. Cyril, with fierce determination, vows to prevent that fateful meeting entirely. Standing in the grand ballroom, he knows this is a critical moment to secure Sophia's future and ensure the prince's attention remains with her. Sophia, now 12 and dressed in a stunning gown, asks why Cyril is walking behind her, reminding him that as her escort, he should walk by her side. Cyril is taken aback. Escorting a noble lady is usually reserved for family or a fiancé, but he notices her anxious expression and realizes she trusts no one else. Interrupting his thoughts, Sophia asks if she looks beautiful. Cyril reassures her that she is captivatingly beautiful, and she silently resolves that as long as he sees her that way, no one else's opinion matters. She then asks if he too finds her beautiful, and he admits with a smile that he has also fallen under her charm, amazed at how much she's grown. Nearby, guests whisper admiration for the Rosenberg daughter, praising her beauty, intelligence, and poise. Cyril smiles, proud that their grand entrance was a success. Suddenly, a young man with white hair politely asks to pass. Both Cyril and Sophia are surprised to see it is the second Prince Alforth, who tries to conceal his identity by introducing himself simply as Al. Sophia curtsies gracefully and introduces herself as being from the Rosenberg household. Cyril watches with pride, realizing his 6 years of dedication have led to this moment, where Sophia's first love can finally begin. The prince asks her for a dance, throwing Cyril into silent panic. She is supposed to dance with her escort first, but refusing a prince could ruin her reputation. Sophia looks at Cyril for guidance, and he gives her a subtle nod. Encouraged, she decides to accept the prince's invitation, promising Cyril she'll return after one song. As they move to the dance floor, Sophia politely tells Sir Al she looks forward to dancing, and he nervously agrees. Guests admire the beautiful pair at the center of the ballroom, murmuring about her elegance and the identity of her striking partner. They glide gracefully across the floor, Sophia blushing as she gazes at the handsome prince. Cyril watches from a distance, feeling proud that the villainous version of Sophia no longer exists. Seeing her enjoy the dance, he considers his main goal achieved. However, he notices a nobleman harassing another young woman and realizes there's still more to do. Cyril observes that by saving Sophia, he has also spared himself from the execution that awaited him. He steps in as the nobleman tries to coerce the young woman to leave with him. Cyril firmly tells the man to stop, pointing out that she is clearly uncomfortable. The nobleman becomes angry, demanding Cyril's authority, boasting about being Count Reed's son. Calmly, Cyril threatens to report him to his father, which immediately silences the man, who storms off in frustration. Cyril then checks on the young woman. She is Alicia, the heroine from the game. Because Cyril diverted the prince's attention to Sophia, he unintentionally took the prince's place in this key scene. Alicia stammers her thanks, and Cyril makes sure she's all right, thinking he couldn't leave her to potentially fall into darkness. Shyly, she introduces herself as Alicia, daughter of Viscount Lindbergh, and curiously asks Cyril's name. He's stunned. He remembers that in the game, she and the prince were never supposed to learn each other's names. He replies simply as Cyril, a butler, hoping to downplay his role. Alicia, however, seems intrigued and reassures him that it doesn't matter since her family isn't high nobility. She admits she doesn't know anyone at the party and shyly asks if he would dance with her. Cyril is surprised. Her first dance is supposed to happen much later in the game, and it's unusual for a noble daughter to request a dance. Though a woman asking a man to dance is frowned upon, he can't refuse and embarrass her, so he agrees. They begin dancing, drawing the curious attention of a nearby nobleman and his companion. Cyril maintains a polite smile, though inside he's bewildered by how the evening has unexpectedly unfolded. Alicia turns out to be quite clumsy, accidentally stepping hard on Cyril's foot. He quickly reassures her that it's okay. Flustered, she apologizes over and over as they fumble through the dance, clearly embarrassed. To calm her, Cyril suggests taking a deep breath and distracts her by asking about her family's lands. Her face brightens instantly as she describes her homeland, full of vast fields of flowers and natural beauty. Cyril feels his heart skip a beat and tells her she looks even more wonderful when she smiles, making her blush and shyly thank him. As the music plays, Alicia wonders if the prince had his feet stepped on during her dance. When the song ends with a flourish, the other couples applaud. Cyril bows politely and Alicia thanks him for the dance. Just then, a voice calls out, "I finally found you." A breathless Sophia appears, looking distressed. Surprised, Cyril tells her she didn't need to search for him. She sternly reminds him that she asked him to wait and questions why he didn't follow her instruction. Cyril immediately kneels to apologize, assuming she's upset about her dance with the prince. Sophia glares at him with an intense expression, demanding to know why he won't look at her. Cyril freezes. Her words are identical to what she says to the prince in the game before descending into darkness, but now they're aimed at him. Panic hits as he wonders if he's somehow taken the prince's place in this twisted story. Sophia's expression softens with a pained look as she asks him to tell her it's just her imagination and reminds him of his promise to always stay by her side. Her jealousy erupts when she asks if the girl he danced with is better than her. Cyril frantically explains that he was only helping Alicia out of a difficult situation. Alicia confirms his story, but Sophia only focuses on the fact that he's kind, sending Cyril into a wave of panic as he realizes his worst fears are coming true. Sophia looks at him possessively, saying she'd prefer he reserve his kindness only for her. Cyril chokes in disbelief, finally understanding that Sophia has developed romantic feelings for him, a love complicated by their difference in social status. The dark side flag he thought he'd destroyed has re-emerged, and Cyril takes a deep breath, trying to calmly assess the chaos he's inadvertently created. Cyril briefly considers that even if Sophia turns to the dark side, she's skilled enough to carry out her plans without getting caught. But then the terrifying truth hits him. Since the heroine will never fall for him, he's now the one who risks being consumed by Sophia's jealousy. He frantically recalls that in every route of the game, Sophia becomes jealous and commits harmful acts regardless of the love interest, meaning she will inevitably turn dark. Horrified, he realizes that by stepping into the prince's role, he has made himself the sole target of her rage. The story leaves Cyril utterly terrified, understanding that he alone faces elimination. He reflects on his reincarnation into the world of the popular otome game Espressivo of Light and Darkness, where he was reborn as the butler to the story's villainess. Using his knowledge, he prevented many flags that would have led Sophia to execution, originally triggered after her connection with the prince at a party. Yet despite his best efforts, the party ended with Alicia asking him to dance, while a shocked Sophia demanded to know why he wasn't paying attention to her. Cyril grimaces, wondering how things went so wrong and why Sophia's focus shifted entirely onto him. Later, he stands outside the Grand Rosenberg mansion and politely knocks before entering the study to meet Sophia's father. Inside, Grieve, the stern head of the family, is busy writing at his desk. Grieve questions why Cyril waited to interrupt, and Cyril respectfully explains that he noticed his master had already acknowledged his presence. Grieve seems impressed by Cyril's sharp perception, attributing it to his training as Sophia's personal butler since age 6, before shifting to the matter of the party. He wishes to discuss Cyril's role as Sophia's escort, making the young butler visibly nervous. Grieve offers thanks for his service, but Cyril humbly declines any reward, insisting he failed since Sophia had to leave the party early. He takes responsibility, explaining his actions caused her discomfort and could have harmed her reputation. Grieve casually dismisses his worries, noting that many children left early and that Sophia's departure wasn't a problem. In fact, he says it was the right decision, as her dance with the second prince had drawn too much attention. When Cyril asks why that was an issue, Grieve excitedly exclaims with fatherly pride that his daughter danced with the grace of an angel, repeating the word in awe. Relieved that Sophia's reputation remains intact, Cyril still feels he failed in his duty as her escort. Grieve looks at him thoughtfully, remarking that Cyril's maturity sometimes makes him question whether he is truly just a child. Turning to a more serious topic, Grieve asks Cyril for his thoughts on the second prince. Cyril is caught off guard, realizing the question isn't just about the prince admiring Sophia's beauty. Grieve admits he's considering a potential betrothal between Sophia and the second prince and wants Cyril's opinion to help him decide. Cyril feels it isn't his place to comment, but Grieve insists that his input will be valuable. Torn between his original plan to unite Sophia with the prince and his awareness of Sophia's feelings for him, he reminds himself that his primary role is her apprentice personal butler. With renewed conviction, Cyril tells Grieve that his duty is to lead Sophia to happiness, so her own feelings on a potential marriage should be the priority. Grieve is clearly intrigued and surprised by the young butler's bold response. He questions the idea of asking his daughter about a strategic marriage, and Cyril firmly states that his only wish is his lady's happiness. Grieve smirks, calling the answer utterly dull, but a faint magical glow appears from his hand. In an unexpected turn, Grieve declares that Cyril has passed his test and officially appoints him as a full-fledged personal butler. Cyril is momentarily stunned before humbly kneeling to accept the promotion. Grieve explains it was a test of character and now trusts Cyril to care for his daughter. He presents Cyril with entrance papers to Lawnbell Royal Academy so he can accompany Sophia. Cyril accepts without hesitation, declaring he will enroll as a student to remain by his lady's side. Later, Cyril helps Sophia study for her exams, praising her for correctly applying a complex formula. While passing will be easy for her, he knows she must achieve the highest scores to uphold her family's honor. He reflects that there's no time to celebrate his promotion, as the real challenge begins at the academy, where he must guide Sophia's path to happiness and steer her back toward the prince. He knows the academy is the perfect place to correct their course, but remains vigilant about one particular threat: the heroine Alicia. Thankfully, a side story from the game shows that Alicia joins the academy later, so she won't appear in the junior division. Sophia snaps him from his thoughts, playfully asking if he's nervous about the upcoming exams. He simply replies, "Just a little," and she teases him back, suggesting he's the one on shaky ground. Cyril realizes she's no longer troubled by the events of the party. As they head to the academy, Cyril knows the next 3 years will be crucial to setting things right. On the day of the entrance exam, they arrive at the magnificent Lawnbell Royal Academy. Cyril tells Sophia he needs to check the seating arrangements, and she eagerly asks to join him. He insists she wait with her maid Rue for safety and hurries into the crowded building, eventually finding their assigned classroom at the far end of the hall. As he navigates the crowded academy hall, Cyril accidentally bumps into a young maid and quickly apologizes. The maid politely insists it's her fault, and after confirming neither is hurt, she excuses herself to return to her mistress. Cyril rejoins Sophia and Rue, and from a distance he notices the same maid now speaking with Alicia, who is quietly smiling as she tells her parents she convinced them to let her attend. Cyril informs Sophia that they'll be in the same classroom for the test. Instantly, Sophia's curiosity spikes, and she asks with a hint of suspicion about the girl he was looking at earlier. Flustered, Cyril tries to brush it off, claiming she's just a harmless maid, but Sophia clenches her fists, clearly unconvinced. Concerned, Cyril realizes he may have made her anxious. She isn't used to such public attention. He reassures her that there's no need to worry because he will always be there to protect her. Sophia asks him to confirm that promise. Cyril gently takes her hand and vows again to always protect her, just as he did when they were younger. Sophia gazes at him with complete trust, holding his hand tightly, and declares she will never forget his promise. Feeling reassured, she thanks him warmly and suggests they head into the classroom for the exam. Inside, the room buzzes with noisy confusion as nobles and commoners mingle, asking questions about the unfamiliar rules. Sophia and Rue are both surprised by the arrangement, with Rue remarking that it's rare to see social classes mixed so openly. Cyril notes that the Academy's rule against flaunting social status is being strictly enforced from the very start. He reflects that even with such rules, one must decide whether to treat others as equals or assert their own status. As other students begin noticing Sophia, excitement and nervousness ripple through the room. Cyril proudly observes that she has already earned their respect. Blushing softly with a sly smile, Sophia confesses to Cyril that it has always been her dream to spend her life at the academy with him. Cyril is completely stunned by her heartfelt words, and the paper in his hand crumbles as he stares at her in disbelief. Trying to regain composure, he jokingly reminds her that it's not the time for such things since the exam is about to begin. She only smiles playfully at his reaction, just as another student recognizes Sophia as the daughter of Marka Rosenberg. A boy rudely approaches, demanding to know who they are and insisting he won't tolerate their discourtesy. Cyril instinctively moves to step in, but Sophia calmly stops him, reminding him of the academy's rules and implying that no offense has occurred. With a subtle wink at Cyril, she explains that for two people to truly be on equal footing, the higher status person must first grant approval, leaving her maid Rue impressed by their sophisticated exchange. Sophia then asks the boy his name and his business. He confidently introduces himself as Raymond. In a bold announcement, Raymond declares that he intends to become her personal butler immediately. Sophia glances thoughtfully at Cyril, her current butler, and tells Raymond she cannot make such a decision. Raymond clarifies that he only wishes to serve as her personal butler during their time at the academy. Cyril explains to Sophia that students in the servant courses often serve noble students as part of their curriculum. Raymond, undeterred, proposes a challenge. Sophia firmly interrupts, declaring that Cyril is the only personal butler she will ever need. Raymond recognizes Cyril's name, having heard rumors of his exceptional skill since starting at age 6, and Sophia proudly confirms it. Dismissing the idea that a sheltered boy like Cyril could surpass him, Raymond vows to prove his superiority during the entrance exam. He requests that if he succeeds, Sophia must appoint him as her new personal butler. Sophia calmly agrees, stating she will decide based on her own judgment, which makes Raymond grin triumphantly. As they head to their seats for the exam, Raymond gives Cyril a smug, challenging look and declares he will use the test to prove he is the most fit to be Sophia's personal butler. Rue whispers her concern to Sophia about the promise she just made, but Cyril reminds her that Sophia's words were cleverly phrased. Her decision depends on her personal opinion, not just the exam results, meaning Cyril was never in danger of being replaced. Sophia poos, admitting that hearing Raymond belittle Cyril has soured her mood. Cyril agrees, finding Raymond's arrogance irritating. Sophia tells him it's now up to him to prove Raymond wrong. With a dazzling smile, she commands Cyril to show Raymond and the entire academy that he is the best butler in the world. Cyril accepts the challenge with a determined grin. Rue is stunned by Sophia's command, realizing that Cyril must now excel on the entrance exam to prove his skill to the entire academy. Sophia wonders if it's even possible, but Cyril confidently reassures her, thinking to himself that his experience from a past life's magic academy makes the written test straightforward. Cyril explains that the student with the highest score becomes the new student representative, meaning if he performs his best, he could surpass her. Sophia smiles and tells him she has no interest in a position given out of pity, encouraging him to give it his all. An announcer declares the exam will start in 10 minutes. Sophia urges Cyril onward, looking ready for the challenge. He realizes that while he hopes she takes the top spot, her true wish is for him to perform at his absolute best. He instructs Rue to wait for them outside and sits down for the written portion of the exam, determined not to hold back. Later, during the practical violin exam, Sophia, examinee number 16, gives Cyril a playful, challenging glance before performing. She plays with beautiful, effortless skill, her serene expression showing her mastery. Finishing with a graceful flourish, she politely thanks the examiners, who applaud enthusiastically. Cyril rushes over, playfully ruffling her hair in congratulations. Sophia winks and says he doesn't need to care for her during the exam, but he reaffirms his loyalty as her exclusive butler. When examinee 17 is called, Cyril borrows a violin, confident he can make up for any shortcomings from the written exam. He introduces himself to the examiners and begins playing, knowing this will be his greatest challenge. Though technically skilled, Cyril admits internally that he lacks natural musical talent. His performance starts off awkwardly, producing screeching sounds that draw disapproval. Suddenly, A string snaps with a loud twang, shocking everyone. An examiner jumps up, but Cyril remains calm, quickly deciding to continue using the A string. The examiners watch, bewildered, as he improvises flawlessly. When he finishes, they applaud not only his technical skill, but also his incredible composure under pressure. Sophia pouts playfully, claiming he cheated by succeeding unexpectedly, while Cyril humbly calls it luck. After the dance portion of the exam, Cyril compliments Sophia on her graceful performance with her senior partner. She thanks him but insists that all credit goes to her partner, who seemed perfectly in sync with her, making the dance appear effortless. Cyril notices that many of the senior partners share similar rhythm, and Sophia's partner was especially well matched. Sophia teases that if her partner is that good, she might even surpass him in the overall score. When it's Cyril's turn, he is paired with a pale, nervous girl named Fall. He politely introduces himself, and she shyly returns the greeting. As they begin dancing, Cyril skillfully leads her through complex, elegant turns. He is surprised by how perfectly she follows, realizing she is a highly talented dancer, possibly on par with Sophia. He wonders why such skill never appeared in the original game, and she playfully teases him for being distracted, blushing slightly as she smiles. Fall comments that while Sophia's reputation is impressive, Cyril himself is remarkable and asks if he taught Sophia to dance. When he questions why she thinks that, she says she feels they are very similar, which shocks him. Suddenly, Fall confidently takes the lead in their dance, pulling him into new steps. The examiners watch in confusion at this unusual shift. Cyril initially panics, worried about the score, but notices Sophia's hopeful gaze and decides to let Fall lead. She hesitates, reminding him that the man is usually expected to lead, but he explains that true leading means helping the partner shine. He tells her that if she wants to guide, he will follow completely and help her shine even more, bending the rules if necessary. Fall is surprised, apologizes for testing him, and offers to return the lead. She spins gracefully, and Cyril accepts, saying, "Your wish is my command." His eyes wide as he processes the incredible moment that just unfolded. Fall's dance becomes an astonishing display of skill that surprises everyone. Cyril quickly tells the worried examiners that she has fainted and he is just trying to keep her safe. The examiner looks concerned, and Cyril reassures her that the girl is conscious, suggesting her personal maid or butler be called. A maid hurries over, addressing her as Lady Pamela, and gently tries to wake her. The maid introduces herself and agrees to escort Pamela to the infirmary after Cyril confirms she is breathing and alert despite her pale appearance. She thanks Cyril sincerely, promising to show proper gratitude later. Cyril apologizes to the examiner for disrupting the test and asks that other students be allowed a retest. The examiner agrees, but is surprised when Cyril says he forfeits his own chance to retake the exam since he left his dance partner mid-performance. She admires his strong sense of responsibility and allows the retest, penalizing only his score. Fall apologizes for causing trouble, but reassures him she doesn't think he acted rudely and expresses regret that they couldn't finish their dance. After giving him a final wink and wishing him luck, Fall leaves. Sophia approaches and Cyril immediately apologizes for not performing his best. She asks if he thinks she's upset and playfully tells him to lift his head. Pouting, she points out that he did his best, but also intentionally used the interruption to lower his score. Cyril feigns ignorance, but it's clear she knows exactly what he did. A few days later, waiting for the exam results, Sophia suggests checking them early. They join the crowd at the results board and see that Sophia scored perfectly in all her practical exams. She points out Cyril's score, which is surprisingly low, only 51, while he focuses on her results. Without the penalty, he realizes he would have scored 102, surpassing her perfect scores. He apologizes for tarnishing her record. Meanwhile, Raymond approaches Sophia with his own exam scores, hoping to convince her he should be her butler. Cyril politely intercepts the letter to check for any issues before giving it to her. Sophia is impressed by Raymond's high scores, and Cyril notes that, based on past years, these results would likely earn him the top position. Cyril acknowledges that Raymond is talented enough to be considered for a butler position, but he has no intention of relinquishing his role. Sophia congratulates Raymond on his perfect practical exam scores, yet he humbly insists he still cannot compare to her. When Cyril mentions his own low dance score of 51, Raymond bursts out laughing, mocking him for daring to serve as Sophia's butler with such a pitiful result. Other students attempt to defend Cyril, but Raymond dismisses their efforts. Calmly, Cyril concedes that in terms of the dance exam, Raymond is the clear winner. Surprised by Cyril's graciousness, Raymond listens, as Cyril firmly states that he will not give up his position as Sophia's personal butler. Determined, Raymond declares he will claim the role from Cyril within a year. Weeks later, the official admission notices arrive. Sophia playfully sticks her tongue out at Cyril, who is still lamenting his 49-point deduction. Her notice confirms near-perfect scores in all subjects, securing the top spot with only a single point shy of perfection. A maid gently brushes her hair as she sits peacefully in her room. Cyril and Sophia ride in a carriage on their way to a clothing store to have his academy uniform tailored. The academy's rule of equal treatment for all students, regardless of social status, is still enforced, even during this social studies assignment requiring Sophia to visit a commoner's shop. As they exit the carriage, Cyril reaches for her hand to help her down, but she continues holding it. Blushing, she asks if it's a problem. Cyril nervously clarifies that being her butler doesn't automatically make him her escort. Inside the shop, a commotion arises as a nobleman berates the owner for not having his son's uniform ready for the entrance ceremony. Observing from the entrance, Cyril disapproves of the servant's lack of preparation and questions the family's policy. A shop attendant warmly welcomes Cyril and Sophia, encouraging her to take the lead in this hands-on experience. The nobleman's son angrily notices their attention shifting and demands to know why they can get a uniform made. The attendant calmly explains that Cyril and Sophia had made a reservation. The boy's butler attempts to restrain him, but he insists on his status as Count Reed's son. Sophia quietly asks Cyril to intervene, then steps forward with a confident smile, telling the boy to refrain from such behavior, asserting that power should not be wielded without reason. Stunned, the boy is silenced by her radiant and commanding presence. The attendant quickly whispers to the boy, revealing that the young lady is none other than Sophia, the daughter of a powerful marquis. Both the boy and his attendant immediately bow in apology, begging forgiveness for their rude behavior. Sophia gestures for them to wait, maintaining her calm composure. Cyril explains that he has reserved 2 sets of uniforms for himself and 3 for Sophia. Graciously, Sophia offers one of her extra sets to the stunned boy, explaining that the spare is not essential for the entrance ceremony. The boy gratefully accepts, and Cyril realizes that the situation was likely a subtle test of his character, as the boy's family had probably already prepared his uniform. Sophia's action effectively puts the boy in her debt. Sophia asks the shop attendant if she can make the uniform for him, and Cyril privately wonders if the attendant intentionally orchestrated this to create the favor. The attendant leads Sophia to the fitting room to take her measurements, and she briefly bids Cyril farewell. Inside the fitting room, Sophia is surprised to see Alicia, the heroine from the autumn game. Alicia apologizes for not recognizing her earlier and admits she remembers dancing at the prince's birthday party, feeling clumsy during her own performance. Sophia reassures her, complimenting how nice she looked, while Alicia credits her partner for making the dance so impressive. Sophia's expression hardens slightly as she responds with a simple, "Right." Meanwhile, the tailor asks Cyril to check the uniform sleeves, giving him a chance to converse and learn that Alicia is also a freshman at the academy, raising hope that Alicia and Sophia might become friends. Back in the carriage with their new uniforms, Sophia feels the reality of their enrollment in the academy, and Cyril agrees, knowing he has much work ahead to support her daily life and repair her relationship with the second prince. He reminds himself that the most important goal is ensuring Sophia genuinely enjoys her time at the academy. Suddenly, Sophia asks why he is staring at her face. The carriage abruptly stops, and Cyril instinctively pulls her into his arms to protect her. The driver apologizes, explaining that children unexpectedly ran into the street. Cyril's expression darkens as he notices the word children and senses danger. He instructs Sophia to stay inside while he steps out to investigate. From a distance, he notices 2 suspicious men observing them and quickly realizes that the children were used as a distraction, creating a perfect opportunity for an attack. Approaching the frightened children, Cyril asks if they are all right. They defensively ask if he is an enemy, to which he calmly replies that he is not. The children then ask if he is one of the people chasing them. Cyril realizes the two suspicious men are not targeting him and Sophia, but are actually after the children. Cyril kneels to the children and gently asks why they are being pursued. The boy tearfully explains that his sister is in danger. Their parents sold her to the Dark Guild, and now they are desperately running from them. Cyril is taken aback to learn they are from the slums, a harsh and shadowed element in the world of the Otome game. He understands that just as the godly nobles symbolize light, the slums and the Dark Guild embody ever-present darkness. Recognizing this as a story event from the game, he knows he must handle it carefully. After all, the Dark Guild played a critical role in the calamities of his own past life. From the carriage, Sophia calls out, asking if the children are all right. The boy pleads desperately for Cyril's help, and he realizes he can no longer ignore the situation. However, he tells Sophia that the ultimate decision to intervene rests with her. She looks confused, prompting him to explain that as the daughter of a marquis, she must understand the harsh realities of her world. He bluntly states that while saving these two children is noble, it is a drop in the ocean of suffering, a personal act of righteousness that risks the safety of the many for the sake of a few. The boy continues to beg, insisting that the kind lady has the power to save his sister. Sophia gazes at him with determination and makes her choice. She instructs Cyril to help the children, admitting that her actions may seem hypocritical or conceited, but she cannot simply turn away when she has the ability to save someone within reach. She recalls Cyril's own words and asserts that if her voice has the power to decide, then she chooses to act. Cyril is struck by her newfound resolve, recognizing that she is no longer the girl who blindly followed his lead. With a proud smile, he bows and accepts her command. Turning to the children, he pledges in the name of his lady to protect them. The girl finally utters her brother's name in relief, embracing him joyfully. Cyril realizes that in helping them, he is taking on a dangerous challenge. He is effectively stealing from the Dark Guild, a problem he cannot ignore. Determined, he plans to visit the guild's headquarters in the slums. A few hours later, two boys discuss the unusual events of the day, noting that a high-ranking noble had taken two slum children under her care. One, a blonde youth with a confident smirk, remarks that her actions seem almost too good to be true. His companion suggests it could be a trap, but the first boy casually dismisses the notion. Closing his pocket watch, the blonde declares that they must discover her true intentions. If she genuinely supports the commoners, they must win her over before the elites do. He looks out the window with determined eyes, ready for what comes next. Meanwhile, a new character, Lee Bear, one of the game's capture targets, is introduced. He gazes out a window with a confident smile, promising that he will see Sophia Rosenberg in school soon. Back in the slums, Cyril navigates through the heart of the district, sensing that a Dark Guild base lies nearby. The locals watch him with hushed suspicion, aware of the tense presence he brings. Cyril is confronted by a shadowy figure wearing a fedora, who warns him that this is no place for a young boy and advises him to leave before getting into trouble. Undeterred, Cyril confidently introduces himself as a butler from the prestigious Rosenberg household and explains that he has come to discuss the recent case involving the two siblings. The man scoffs at the idea of negotiating with a child. Cyril calmly counters, asserting that if the man wants to speak with his very busy lady, he must come to the Rosenberg mansion himself. With a sly smile, he reminds the man that just as he represents the guild, his own leader should also appear in person. Reluctantly, the man leads Cyril to a nearby building, still remarking on how young he appears. Inside, Cyril comes face to face with Nameless, the intimidating guildmaster, who sits with a woman on his lap. The guildmaster acknowledges that he already knows why the young butler has arrived. Cyril is unshaken by Nameless's polite demeanor and quickly deduces that the muscular man in front of him is merely a body double. The real Nameless stands silently behind him. Recalling his knowledge from the game, Cyril knows Nameless is a former noble, stripped of his status after being framed, now leading a life of thievery and harboring deep resentment toward the powerful nobles who wronged him. Confident that reasoning will work, Cyril prepares to negotiate. A female guild member approaches playfully, offering to take care of him until he returns home. but Cyril politely declines and addresses the matter at hand. He asks if there is any chance of returning the runaway girl, clarifying that he has no intention of interfering with their human trafficking business, but that his lady has already promised to protect her. Cyril places a stack of coins on the table, offering to buy her freedom, not in the sense of ownership, but to transfer her rights to the Rosenberg household. The guild members are amused, with one woman examining the single gold coin he offers. Nameless understands Cyril's intention but refuses the offer. Instead, the guildmaster counters with 30 gold coins, shocking both Cyril and the woman beside him. Cyril accepts calmly, and Nameless slams the coins onto the table to assert authority. As the coins are counted, Nameless quietly asks what they plan to do with the siblings. The body double explains that human trafficking is vital to the slum's economy, and letting the siblings go for such a price is unprecedented. Cyril interrupts, proposing a plan to raise the siblings as loyal servants of the Rosenberg house, ensuring they will never betray his lady. Nameless agrees to the deal, but as Cyril begins to leave, he asks one final question. Will Cyril save the children while leaving their parents, who still owe debts, behind? Cyril confidently clarifies that raising them as loyal servants also implies that their parents' debts will be properly handled, ensuring the family's safety and well-being. Cyril meets Nameless's gaze with calm defiance, challenging whether the guild had expected too much from a young boy. The real Nameless regards him with a newfound respect, while the body double glares, visibly irritated, slamming his hand on the table. The double furiously demands to know how such a young boy dared speak to him in this way. As the bald man expresses his anger, the real Nameless places a restraining hand on his shoulder, causing the body double to pause in surprise. Reluctantly, the double concedes that they will accept the deal as it stands, though his expression makes clear he is displeased with the arrangement. Cyril smiles warmly, expressing sincere gratitude and optimism that their relationship from this day forward will be lasting and mutually beneficial. From an unseen vantage point, a voice remarks on Cyril's audacity, calling him a cheeky and bold brat. After Cyril departs, the group discusses their impressions of him. The woman finds him cute, while the body double notes that he ignored her entirely, a positive sign that he cannot easily be swayed by charm. Reflecting on the negotiation, the body double admits that while the deal mostly went according to plan, he initially panicked when he learned a noble had intervened to take the children. He is now relieved, recognizing that the guild has gained a direct connection to the powerful Rosenberg family. The real Nameless adds a crucial observation. Children never forget their parents and can be swayed by love, yet Cyril saw right through the guild's scheme from the start. A diagram illustrates the guild's original plan, to leverage the parents' debt to force the children into espionage against the Rosenbergs. Cyril dismantled this plan entirely by paying the 30 gold coins, removing the leverage and creating a direct beneficial connection for himself. The body double scoffs, dismissing Cyril as a naive child, confident they could break the deal if necessary. But the real Nameless disagrees, noting that Cyril is no ordinary boy. His eyes reveal an unnerving depth of insight, and his bold claim to raise the children as utterly loyal servants demonstrates a confidence and strategic brilliance that mark him as a monster in a child's skin, completely undeterred by the guild's threats. The body double reels from a sudden realization as the real Nameless confirms Cyril's intentions. He begins to comprehend that the guild no longer has any reason to detain the parents. A woman admits she is completely confused, but Nameless clarifies Cyril's true message. The children's parents must be allowed to live and see their children again. Cyril's maneuver has subverted the guild's expectations, turning their plans against them while preserving the family bonds they intended to exploit. Adjusting his glasses with a knowing smile, Nameless acknowledges that Cyril understands the dark undercurrents of their world and remarks that they are likely to get along well for a long time. The scene shifts briefly to the worn rooftops of a struggling district before transitioning dramatically to the grand, opulent entrance hall of Lawnbell Royal Academy. Cyril, now in his school uniform, stands ready for the entrance ceremony, placing a hand over his heart and reaffirming his purpose to fully devote himself to supporting his lady. He looks up the grand staircase to see Sophia waiting and acknowledges her presence, stating that he has been expecting her. Blushing, Sophia shyly asks for his opinion on how she looks in her dress. Cyril answers poetically, suggesting that anyone who saw her might question the legends of a saint who once graced a ballroom, implying her beauty surpasses even that of the most revered tales. Pressing further, Sophia seeks his personal opinion, not flattery. Understanding the importance of honesty, Cyril notes a minor detail. Her hair ornament is slightly off. He then gently pulls her into a reassuring hug, whispering that there is absolutely no way his lady, the one he has raised, could not be cute. Flustered and blushing, Sophia can only stammer his name, Sire. Smiling playfully, Cyril places a finger to his lips, promising that his words remain their secret. Sophia happily agrees, and Cyril formally takes her hand to escort her to her carriage. Together, they step forward, ready to begin their new life at Lawnbell Royal Academy. The headmaster opens the entrance ceremony with a warm welcome to all the new students who have successfully passed the challenging entrance exams. The student representative steps forward to welcome Sophia to the stage, praising her efforts with an outstretched hand. The long-awaited entrance ceremony at Lawnbell Royal Academy officially begins. Cyril reflects that while his academy life is finally starting, he has no time to celebrate. Whispers ripple through the crowd as students are surprised that the freshman representative is the Marquis's daughter and not one of the elitist children. Cyril knows he must do everything possible to ensure Sophia's peaceful academy life, carefully navigating the tensions between two opposing factions: the elitists, who favor a noble-centered society, and the plebeians, who advocate equality. He recalls a path from the game where Sophia became a radical elitist due to harassment by her maid, ultimately leading to her execution. He understands that maintaining neutrality is her safest option. Another challenge lies in the romantic subplot. Cyril occupies the prince's position, yet the heroine won't enroll for another 3 years, giving him some relief. As Sophia, now the freshman representative, begins her speech, Cyril listens intently. She starts by admitting that she shouldn't be the one standing on stage, which momentarily stuns him. She recounts her lonely and difficult childhood, feeling unloved by her parents and constantly harassed by maids, leaving Cyril shocked and confused. She then acknowledges a kind person who reached out to her and taught her many things, helping her realize that her parents truly loved her. Sophia concludes by promising to do her best as a substitute for the person who truly deserves the honor, earning admiration from the audience. Cyril grimaces, recognizing that her emotionally charged speech could be misinterpreted as a statement against the commoners. As the ceremony ends, the teacher announces that students will head to their designated classrooms. Cyril finds himself in Class 1A of the servant course, immediately hit by a paper fan. A boy scolds him for staring jealously at a girl he just met, while a girl apologizes for his behavior, explaining he is envious of Cyril's excellent grades. The boy introduces himself as Luke, the girl as Chloe, both in the servant course, and Cyril politely returns their greetings. The students take their seats as the teacher begins the lecture on the 6 courses offered at the academy: the servant course, the general course, and the noble course. With a dramatic thud of his book, he announces that Class 1A is for the top elites, already considered full-fledged servants. Tristan, the teacher of Class 1A, challenges the students, questioning whether their skills truly merit the honor of being in the top class just because they passed the junior division exams. One student objects, prompting Tristan to angrily confront him, reminding the class that their current skills are only considered valuable because they are still children and that people are more forgiving of their mistakes. He then calls out the students' less than perfect entrance exam scores, challenging them to justify their arrogance. The class is stunned to realize that their strict teacher is none other than Tristan, a legendary former student who aced every exam and enrolled as the top student. Cyril is amazed to learn that Tristan is not only a legendary butler scouted by the royal family, but also one of the capture targets from the Otome game. The student who had previously challenged Tristan bows deeply in apology, but the teacher humbly insists that he is just a butler and now a teacher. Tristan confesses that he too had once been an arrogant brat who thought he was special, only to fail repeatedly in the real world. He reassures the students that he will help them fix any mistakes they make and encourages them to take on challenges boldly. The student is moved to tears by Tristan's honesty, and the entire class gains a newfound respect for him. Tristan announces that in 1 month, a welcome party for freshmen will be held, and Class 1A has been tasked with organizing it. He challenges them to demonstrate their true skills, as nearly everyone in the academy will attend. The class erupts with cheers, but Cyril ponders the difficulty of the task, knowing that the noble's scrutiny will make it challenging. Tristan calls for Cyril by name, and the young butler identifies himself. The teacher mentions hearing about Cyril's impressive performance during the exam, but Cyril feigns ignorance. Tristan then declares that as the top student, Cyril will lead the class in organizing a successful party. Before Cyril can respond, a loud clatter interrupts the announcement. Raymond, also in Class 1A, angrily demands to know why Cyril is considered the top student when he ranked second in the academy and scored only 51 on the dance exam. Whispers ripple through the classroom as students question how Cyril could be the top student with such a low score. Tristan grins mischievously and asks Cyril to explain. Cleverly, Cyril dodges, stating that he is not an examiner and therefore has no knowledge of the grading process, protecting his lady's reputation. Tristan accepts Cyril's evasive answer and instructs him to prove his skills by organizing the welcome party, which immediately sparks protests from other students. He asks those who disagree to raise their hands, and a sea of hands shoots up. Tristan declares that the dissenters will handle preparations in the courtyard, while Cyril remains the top student. Subtly, he suggests that the courtyard team could take pride in making their setup even better than the main hall, hinting at a friendly rivalry. The student who had initially challenged Cyril catches on to Tristan's intent, grinning widely and vowing to unmask Cyril's false disguise, while another student insists it shouldn't be a solo effort. During break, students complain about their difficult top student, and Cyril realizes he cannot let the courtyard team outshine him, as it would tarnish his lady's reputation. He gathers the remaining students and asks them to share their skills and preferred roles for the party. Luke asks Cyril if he wants the party to succeed, to which Cyril replies affirmatively. Luke explains that success requires utilizing everyone's strengths. Chloe points out that Tristan encouraged them to take on challenges, and Cyril reassures the group that he will cover for them if they fail. Luke jokingly asks about Cyril's role, then accepts the position of his aide when Cyril formally offers it, shaking hands to seal their partnership. The other students are amused by Cyril's unconventional leadership. They begin volunteering for roles. One boy arranges the machinery, while a girl confidently takes charge of music. Luke comments on Cyril's formal approach, joking that it makes him feel like a stranger and presents a summarized list of everyone's assignments for review. Cyril reflects on how, in this world, he had always been surrounded by older people and dedicated entirely to serving his lady, never experiencing camaraderie with peers. Now, working alongside classmates his own age, he feels a sense of belonging for the first time. When Luke asks if there is an issue with the roles, Cyril smiles and confirms everything is fine, walking down the sunlit hallway, appreciating this change of pace. Meanwhile, Sophia sits at a desk thoughtfully, accompanied by a young boy with light hair and glasses. Luke bursts in with a lunch bag, excited to organize the party with Cyril during their break. Cyril politely apologizes, explaining that he has other responsibilities to attend to, leaving the planning in their hands. Luke wonders why he left so abruptly, and Chloe reminds him that as Sophia's personal butler, Cyril must also fulfill his duties within the noble class. Cyril arrives at the noble classroom, and Sophia gently reminds him that he didn't need to come during his lunch break. He bows and explains that as her personal butler, it's only natural for him to concern himself with her well-being. Sophia then requests that he brew some tea, prompting another student to comment on his young age. Cyril politely introduces himself as a first-year student in the servant class, which delights the girl who praises his devotion to his mistress. Sophia proudly adds that Cyril is not only devoted, but also brews the best tea she has ever had. Intrigued, the other noble girls ask if they may try some, and Sophia graciously agrees. Cyril momentarily wonders about their true motives for joining this impromptu tea party, but quickly dismisses the thought, focusing instead on his duty. In the academy's kitchen, he carefully prepares the tea with meticulous attention. Using wind magic, he evenly steeps the tea leaves and keeps the teacups warm, measuring the brewing time with an hourglass. He then returns to the classroom, fully aware that he must remain vigilant against any attempts to poison the guests. Pouring the tea, he ensures that the last and most delicious drop goes into Sophia's cup, presenting the local specialty of the Rosenberg territory. He recommends drinking it without milk or lemon, and Sophia proudly calls him her butler as she savors the tea. One of the girl's attendants, Ferris, warns her not to drink it, but the aroma captivates her. Ferris is initially suspicious, but is quickly won over by the tea's exquisite flavor and fragrance, declaring it the best she has ever had and confirming that it is indeed just black tea. Sophia becomes possessively attached to her cup, insisting that every drop is hers. The other attendants are equally impressed and apologize for their earlier doubts. A previously dismissive girl with long black hair is astonished by the tea's quality. Cyril realizes that tea knowledge in this world is not as advanced as in his previous life, giving him a unique edge. Curious students ask where he learned such skills, and Sophia proudly explains that he has excelled at tea making since childhood. She suggests teaching their servants the technique, and Cyril understands her unspoken intent to share the knowledge while preserving its value. Sophia adds that they may use the skills at their own tea parties, but must always credit Cyril as the originator. Cyril recognizes this as a brilliant strategy by Sophia, ensuring that both their names gain recognition throughout the noble circles. With this single tea party, Sophia has subtly laid the groundwork for her own faction at the academy. Cyril is impressed by her strategic foresight, recognizing that she is already becoming a formidable presence. Two noble girls quietly discuss the recent events, one unsure if the others realize that a faction is quietly forming around Sophia. Cyril then brings out a plate of crepes with a variety of toppings, a dessert completely new to the students and their attendants. They are amazed, and Cyril suggests consulting with Sophia to see which toppings she prefers. As the girls enjoy the crepes, one asks if Sophia's maid could also be taught the tea-making techniques. Sophia agrees, declaring that their servants will be the first to learn, signaling that her influence is quietly spreading. Cyril notes that Sophia has already made herself known, and that a powerful faction around her is inevitable, but he still wonders what her ultimate intentions are. Walking down the hallway after classes, Sophia tells Cyril she'll see him later. Curious, he asks her plans, and she explains that the second prince has already surrounded himself with supporters of the elitist faction, showing his clear favor for absolute aristocratic rule. She reveals that she knows of Cyril's efforts to build a faction for her and acknowledges the need to stay distant from both sides. Surprisingly, she adds that she may also need to distance herself from him, as he is not a noble, a cold but calculated decision that leaves Cyril stunned. She clarifies that she wants to avoid conflict with the prince and any orders that might force her to act against Cyril. With fierce determination, she declares she will defy even the gods to change her fate, but will take a more calculated approach to ensure she doesn't have to fight them to protect him. Cyril decides to trust her judgment in building her faction while he focuses on safely navigating between the elitist and commoner sides. He realizes that the upcoming welcoming party is the perfect opportunity to meet key figures like Libert from the commoner faction naturally and without drawing suspicion. On the day of the new students' welcoming party, Cyril observes the smooth progress of preparations,